equally ask us to be praying that Allah should free us from all the burden that has been saddled with the people before us, and that we should seek total overlooking, not only forgiveness, but that Allah should have to overlook our misdeed, cleanse us from our shortcoming, and also to seek forgiveness and the blessing. Because Allah himself is our Lord, and we should also be seeking his help and support over the enemy of Allah or our own enemy. At the same time, we seek the blessing of Allah and his mercy on the one that has been declared as mercy for the whole world. So world that we are occupying an other world. He is the one who taught us how we can abrogate what is kufru, that is what has to do with disbelief, and what is shirk, all that has to do with idolatry, and everything that has to do with ambiguity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep on raising his own elevation so that we will also be elevated by what Allah has blessed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with, which is Islam. As one of our leaders said, he said, that is Sayyidina Umar, he said, Nano qawmun azan Allah bil Islam, fa'idha taraknahu hadalna. He said, we are that community which Allah has elevated because we hold to Islam. And whatever will make us to leave Islam will always make us to not only to be weak, but to become irrelevant in all the scheme of things. So one might be a big person, one might be very tough, one might be very rough, but once you are not relevant in the globe, like the Arab today, any trouble that is happening either in the Arab land, they cannot solve it. So it is not that you want to attack them, because see all the money that were involved, not less than 8 years, that Saudi involved in fighting Yemen. So that's why that they were unable to win it. So America was fighting Iran. Up to today, they were unable to win. Is that not something that should tell them that even the American or all the world powers, if all the Muslims should come together, regardless of slight differences that we have, we can still move mountain. And Albert Einstein said in one of his quotes, he said, give me the liver, especially very long liver. He said, I can move the world. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the little that we want to say today in this discussion, may Allah make it as our own liver that will make us to move all that has to do with inequity and weaknesses, so that we become stronger, not only in faith, in everything that surrounds the Iman. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-Iman sabuna shatrat, that Iman has 70 branches. He said, the first of it is La ilaha illallah, that is to stick into oneness of Allah. And the last of it, he said, Imatatul Ada Anitariq, that is removal of harmful things on the pathway. So said, may it be easy for each and every one of us. So we want to go into 3 to 4 areas today. So the first one has to do with what are the types of nasikh. That is, nasikh means abrogator, and nasikh means abrogation, al-mansukh means abrogated. So what are the abrogators? What are those types of abrogator? We should not forget that there are the fundamental thing about Islam is unchanging. Like Adam is in the first heaven, while Ibrahim is in the seventh heaven. So, and if Ibrahim is Khalilullah, so the people of knowledge, they can even say, based on that, Ibrahim is more higher than Adam. But can Ibrahim come into the world without Adam? So, Yakhtaru man yasha, that is, Allah chooses whom He wishes. He did what He likes. Fa'alun lima yurid is the one that cares to do His own thing without having any impulse. We may have money and we may buy something by impulse, not Allah. He doesn't even need plan like our own. He doesn't need any strategy or strategical ideology at all. All that we know is that He is above everything. That is wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Now, brothers and sisters, we just as we said that we should not forget that what we can say about Nasikh, it has to be linguistic and it also has the technical aspect. So the technical aspect and the linguistic aspect. We were able to mention that the first thing we should know when we are talking about Nasikh is that Quran is the only book that has no revised copy, no standard copy. So because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cancelled all the book before the Quran, and today the only one that is seemed to even be very common is the Bible. So now, when the Bible is around, what is making the Bible to be relevant? That means that at least it contains some elements of truth, that this truth that it contains is making some people to still believe that it's still a book that's worth being read. So, and the people believe that if the Quran is the last book, what should Quran do to the book before it? Some of the things that the Quran will do for the book before it is to resuscitate, to resuscitate what is good in that book, and at the same time to cancel what is nonsense about that book. For example, we know that the Christian will always say that it's very wrong to stone the adulterer. That even when an adulterer was taken to Prophet Isa, who is known as Jesus, that Prophet Isa said, "Who among you that has not committed adultery should be the first to throw the first stone?" What we are saying from this is that stone throwing to kill the adulterer has been in existence. So not only during the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before. So, and that is an indication that part of the rule or part of the judgment, so, or part of the text of the book before us, the stoning is part of it. So though it's not in the Quran, so, but there are hadiths in Bulugh Maram that says that stoning is allowed. So, and that is to tell us that it has been abrogated. And that is why it was not in the Quran, but we have it in Bulugh Maram. So the first thing that we can learn before we start the types of Nasi is that we should understand that the Sunnah, please listen, the Sunnah should be what the Prophet said. What are those actions that the Prophet did? What are the approval that the Prophet seemed to consent to, and some things that the Prophet did not even consent to? For example, I'm so sorry to give this example. Let's say Maulud Nabi. Maulud Nabi. The Prophet never said that the people should do it. The Prophet never do it. We never see anybody who is doing anything of such wherein the Prophet was silent or approved. But most of the people that are doing it today, there are some people who will do it and they will have something to say that it is right. Or let us come into Atahiyat, greeting. In Australia, the Pro-Chancellor of University of New South Wales, where my daughter had her convocation on 6 December 2023, was not shaking hand with anybody. All from first degree, second degree, and PhD. He never shake hand, but he will bow his head when they come to receive the confirmation that they have been conferred so degree on them. He will bow, and the person, the recipient will also bow. So now, if I am a member of armed forces, I will have to salute. To take salute, that means I will use my hand very close to my head to show my respect. Now, some people will say that all the parts of the body that we use to do worship is very wrong. Is it possible for somebody that will shake people's hand, if shaking hand is allowed, and the Prophet also shook hand, is it possible to remain that everybody will remain standing without bowing if they want to shake hand? No matter how infinitesimal, if you shake hand with people, it's either you nod or your posture change. Therefore, the people will be talking of sajida that is very wrong. They will not be saying of anything, kneeling and all that. So in our own environment, it depends. It depends. If it is an authentic hadith that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to the house of Fatima, the Fatima will get up to welcome him. And if it is the Prophet that saw Fatima coming, the Prophet will get up to welcome him. So that means standing, bending, shaking hands, and all others, so long they are part of greeting, this cannot be tantamount to worship. So we should understand this. Now, having said that, then what are those types of the Nasir? We should not forget that there is something called istinsak. That is, if we want to copy. So the second one, ibtal. If we want, that is batala. They will say azawaju al-batil. That is fake marriage. So fake marriage. So it's not only muta, all other marriage that were mentioned, which were ongoing or which were practiced during the time of Jahiliyyah, not just one. So they said all of them, they are nullification. So then another one is ibdal, that is replacement. So these are the three types of nasi. Now, maybe I should go a little bit down. So when we are talking about the ruling, sometimes removing ruling without word, we can remove ruling without word. Then another one is that we can remove both ruling and the word. Because when we say removing ruling without words, so that's why it's not in the Quran. We can say a good example is the Rajmu. So the ruling is no more there. So, but at any rate, we should understand that even when we remove the ruling, so, and we equally remove words, so we can still detect that one from the hadith. Then another one is atilawa duna al-hukm. That is, we remove words without hukmu, without ruling. So that one is equally, we'll be explaining that later. Now, having said that, then what are those ayats? What are the ayah that has to take care, or hadith that take care of what we call nasir? We should not forget that also in Bulugu Marami, for when Salat started, was established. So with the exception of Maghrib, which was 3, all other Salat, they were doing it two raka, 2 for Ishai, 2 for Suri, 2 for Asri, 2 for Subi, and 3 for Maghrib. But later, so all were changed from the one that are 2 into 4. So otherwise, if they are not changed, by the time the issue of Salatul Safar came, so the 2 that they were observing before, they retain it for anybody who is on Safar. So that is, when you are on Safar, you will do your Subi, so as 2, your Zuri as 2, your Asri and Ishai as 2, while Maghrib retain. This is also is found in Bulugu Marami and some others. So, and when we look at that, they said, La junaha alaykum. You are not it is not blamable. That is, it is just to make convenient for you, so that you can just reduce your salat. So, and not only that, by the time we go into fasting too, he said somebody on fasting, so if you travel, so you may just you may leave fasting and you complete later. And this is an indication of convenience, so that we can learn from what we call Nasikh wa Mansukh. Then in Quran 2 verse 115, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the people get to Mecca and Medina, when the issue of where should we face came, the Prophet spent 16 months facing the Baitul Maqdas, because when the people asked, the Prophet, Allah revealed, Walillahi al-Mashriq wal-Maghrib. فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. That is, to Allah belong to the east and the west. Wherever you face it is okay. Is it not better to face the Maqdis? So that is how they were facing the Maqdis. But the Jew in Medina, they said, look at the Prophet too. He's not having, it's our own that is copying. He's copying or. So they started making mockery, and that is why Quran 2 verse 144 has to come. Where Allah says, Fawalu wujuhakum shatira li masjidil haram. Fa'ainama takunu fawalu wujuhakum hawla al-shatra. That is, turn your face towards the Qibla. So when we read that verse, we will know that the Prophet was feeling a lot of difficulty, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of mockery from those set of people whom they call the Jew. So before Allah show his love to him, so by saying that, Kiblatan Tardoha, we shall direct you to that Kibla which will be pleasant to you. So, and how pleasant will the Prophet be if his father is from Mecca and his mother is also from area of Medina? So if he should not face Mecca, and he has the opportunity to face Medina, it is all okay. But because Wamayantiku Anil Hawa, he will never talk, he will never do anything except out of out of command of Allah. So that one is about the Quran. Then another thing which is very close to that, maybe let's also take another hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reported from Sayyidina Umar, where I quote, Man labis al-hari fi dunya, lam yalbisu fil akhirah. That is, if anybody should wear the harir, so that is the cloth of harir, so he will not wear it on the day. Some say silk, I don't know. So maybe something very close to that or something higher. So they say he will not wear it. So on the day of Qiyamah, you will see, man labis al harir. So there is no exception. That is, whoever, if anybody should wear the harir, should wear silk. So that is this hadith. So this hadith was reported by Umar. Another hadith reported by Abu Musa, the first hadith was in Rawah Buhari. The second hadith was reported by Abu Musa al-Ashari, where he said, the Prophet said, Hurima libasul harir wadab ala dukuri umati wa ahalla li inasihim. That this one was reported by Tirmizi. They said, Abi Musa al-Ashari said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, so that we make it unlawful, the wearing of silk and gold for the male among my community, among my ummah, and we allow it for our women. In some another occasion, they were said that men are more beautiful or more handsome than women, and it is their defect that they must cover by putting all the beauty things, whether in their ear, whether in their nose, whether in their hands, whether in their legs, whether in their necks. So it is the defect, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has an hadith that says that men are more pretty, therefore they don't need to add into what Allah has given them, and only Allah knows. When men see women, they will be attracted because there is something that should attract them. But go and ask women, are they not attracted? So that is why when you talk to a woman first, so she knows that this man has almost everything that she needs, even if she will add some element of pride. But later, men are not always having the problem of marriage like women. Men may die, but women may not even have somebody to marry. So, and they will be growing, and they may even commit anything apart from suicide, just because they didn't even see any man to marry them. So, such women, that means they are not so beautiful to attract any men. It may be character, it may be anything. So now that is hadith. Now let us go into another ayah of the Quran. So that of Qibla, that is Quran 2, verse 115, though is still there. So the word is there, but the ruling has been cancelled. What are we going to say about that? The one that we say the word is there, but that is removing ruling without word. That's the first one, which we are able to explain. That is, Nasil hukmu duna tilawa. Nasil hukmu duna tilawa. That is what we explain with that of Makdas. That is Qiblatul Makdas and Qiblatul Kaaba. So the one is Quran 2, 115. That is Makdas. Quran 2, verse 144. That is the Kaaba. So I am able to give you one from Hadith and one from Quran. Now, let us go into another verse from the Quran. So, and what is that? In Quran 33 verse 50 and Quran 33 verse 52, The marriage, we should understand that the marriage during the time of Adam, if we should remember, we know that Allah blessed Adam with twins. So twins, that means it is the children of Adam that will marry children of Adam. So the one that is Taye, so among the first thing, will come and marry the one that is down. The one that is down among the Taye here will also marry the one that is up. That is how they continue. So, but I'm just saying that when we look at Quran 33 verse 50, Allah was telling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been given permission to marry any wife, including the daughter of aunt, the daughter of uncle, the cousin, the niece, and anybody that the Prophet loves, so, or whom his hand possess. So he said, this is specially given to you, not to anybody else. But in Quran 33 verse 52, all this was abrogated. He said that the prophet is not allowed to marry just anybody. So the idea of son of uncle, son of auntie, that one is cancelled there. So, and aside that, when ayah of the Quran, so when that verse came, so Abu Bakr is not having one wife, not having two wives, not having less than three wives, and many of them, they were having three, some are having two, some are having four. So to show that that verse that verse in Surah An-Nisa is not coming to allow polygamy. It's only to regulate polygamy. So that is what that one, because during that time, the people marry 10, 15, 20, and so on and so forth. So that one is there. So we should understand that. That is an ayah of the Quran, Quran 33, verse 50, and Quran 33, verse 52. So we should not forget that. Then we should also remember that in another hadith, so that is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam counseled the people from that they should be doing burial in the night. So they do the burial anyhow, especially in the night. So there was a time when they were burying somebody, and the cloth that they used to cover that person is not sufficient to cover both the leg and the head together. So they cover the head and they leave the leg. It was when they were about to place it in that they see that. So the prophet then warned that we should be doing our dafno, that is our burial, during the day. So that is something like that is cancellation. So of burial during the day, the burial during the night, while it will be during the day. So when the people die at night, they will not bury him in the night. They will wait till morning hour. So anybody die in the morning hour, they bury him before the end of the night. So, but in furtherance to that hadith, which mentioned that is for women. So that is, we have cancelled the permission so given for men on wearing silk and on gold dress, but it was permitted for only women. So I said earlier on. So these two may be enough. Even if they are not enough, it's an indication that we may still have some that is telling us about what is abrogated, so, and what is not. So we should take those one so that we can cover a lot. Then what are the implications of this Nasi wa Mansur. The first one that we want to let everybody know that that when we are inviting or when we are calling people to Islam, calling people to Islam does not necessarily mean that until we have inducement to attract Dick, Tom, Harry to Islam, the knowledge of Islam is enough to win the heart of the people, like the simplicity of our burial. So there is hardly anybody who will not say anything, no matter how little, good about Islam among the non-Muslims. Some will say, it is their ceremony that is very simple that he likes, because when their people die, so they won't take it into mortuary, or they won't take it into where they will be keeping the person and so on and so forth. But when they want to do the marriage, within 1 hour, they have finished it. Or when you give them the opportunity to be in charge of money, maybe as a treasurer or financial secretary, so they are trustworthy. So all this. So these are some of the few things the people can say. We can now add other things, like the burial in the night is not good, because during the day we will be able to see things properly. So if digging is well done, you will see it. So if you want to stir the sand, so you will be able to see it. Then if anything fall inside the grave in the night, you will also be able to see it during the, unlike during the night, but during the day. So most of those things, we take care of that. So now, that is the part of the implication. That is, we don't set bait in order to bring people for dawah. It is the knowledge that it must be used. It is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Idiu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izatil hasana." We should call into the way of Allah with wisdom and better preaching. Then, aside that, we should also know that the enemy of Islam will always use anything that is close to being declared as Nasir, so, or Mansur, or Nasir Mansur, to indicate that Quran is not perfect. But we have mentioned earlier on that in Quran 16, so in Quran 16, verse 101, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا بَدَلْنَا آيَةً مَكَانَ آيَةٍ. When we change a verse, so to replace another one, so they will say you have edited, or you have adulterated it. Bal aksaruhum la ya'lamun. The majority of them, they don't know anything. Then Allah said, Kul nazalahu ruhul qudus. Tell them that the Holy Spirit is the one that brought it from your Lord with truth, so that your heart will be firm, and it will equally serve as a guidance and glad tidings for the Muslim. So that is that. So that is, it is an opportunity for the non-Muslims to say that Islam is not perfect. Then it is also an opportunity for Muslims to now tell them that Fatu bi kitabikum in kuntum sadiqin. That is, go and bring your own books if you have it at all. So, and their own weaknesses can equally be unparalleled. So, with anyone. So that is, Nancy Wamansu will always create a forum of discussion where we have people of Mahani, that is, those who understand the deep meaning, so, of historical events in Islam. So they will also know what does the Prophet or the companion say about it. Then they will equally know how does it come. So that is there any ijma consensus of the ulama or Nasi and Mansur, then they should also be able to know which part of the Quran precedes another part in the honor of revelation. So another thing that we should also mention is the marriage. So that is the marriage of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So before and the marriage later. So that is telling us that at a certain time, just like when we want to talk of technology, we may be talking of steam, then we talk of steam coal, we talk of maybe petrol or fuel, and so on, so then electricity. And so that means in human stages, ditto the other stages, world stages. So they will say Stone Age, Industrial Age, something like that. So that is how the life is. Just as everybody can symbolize a country, so a country can also symbolize a human being. So, and when the essence of talking about the marriage is that we have heard about that the prophets can do tabdil in marriage, but later it was not allowed for prophets. So prophet marriage is not limited to four. And the reason, so we must know about it because under Nasi wa Mansu, it is also part of the thing that can be discussed. And why is it that the wife of the prophet should be declared as our mother? So these are some of the few things that we can learn from that. So, or why is it that the number of our own wife should not go beyond four? Even if he said 10, the way the things are sometimes, some people they do not even deserve to marry one. So why do we have to bother them with four wives? Even most of the very strong people nowadays, they may not go beyond two. So why are we bothering them about marrying four and so on? So that is that. Another thing is that to bring a total change. So to bring a total change, it has to do with a lot of strategical, ideological value norms and custom. And that is why one may need a miracle. But yes, the miracle that we need, can it be engineered and managed? So if it is can be engineered and can manage, then the change will come eventually. So, but to create convenience, not hardship. That is another point. So, which is an implication. That is, we should understand that the year of Nasir and Mansur is to make sure that we have, because when Allah was talking about the fasting, he said, Wa'ala ladina yutikuna, for those who could not fast. So at that time, some people are taking it for granted that if they like, they fast. If they fast, then if they like, they do iftar. So they are just doing it anyhow. Just even when they said that fihi ismun, when they are talking about intoxicant, they say fihi ismun. Some people, because of ismu, because of the sin there, they didn't take alcohol. But when they say manafiu linas, some people, it's okay. They were taking that since there are benefits there. So that was why some people were taking it. Then later, when Allah then brought another, he said, La takrabu salata wa antum sukara. Do not come near salat when you are intoxicated. So then the people now forget the issue of sins that involve or benefit that involve, because they want to do salat. So they would rather not take it during the day. But by the night, immediately some will go and they will take their intoxicant, thinking that by morning, so the intoxication will have come into minima or will have gone away. So, but some their intoxication were no more, Why some, they still could not even hold their lives or hold themselves. So until we others have to bring everything that has to do with alcohol. Then you say, Arama alaikum, Arama alaikum, all this he say, Wal Maisir, Wal Aslam, Wal Ansab. So he started from Khamru and he started mentioning some other allied material. He said, Wayasuda Kunrani Salat. So that is, if you should take alcohol, it will take you away from worshiping your Lord. It will not make you to remember Allah always. For Allah to, even if for only this reason, won't you run away? Won't you forget it? So that was how everybody lived that. So we were able to mention that the benefits or the implication of most of the Nasi wa Mansur. Then we should equally not forget that we have said all these things, but does it mean that when an occasion, does it mean that anybody can do what he like anyhow? This is not so. In fact, the people dress so anyhow during the time of the prophet. So somebody dressed so with gold this, gold that, and when he entered the prophet sallallahu just said, ah, how I wish this man Sad ibn Mu'az so can see the cloth that Allah has prepared for him in Al-Jannah. This one is better than what he's putting on. And the person was a man. So the idea of making sure that the people do the right thing, the prophet know how he can say it, wherein the people will not only hear it, but they were ready to adhere into it. So let's all of us understand that Islam is the seal of all religion. Therefore, all religion must come to an end at a particular time when Islam is reigning and keep on reigning. Because he said, well, no matter how much the people try, Islam will also come over them. Islam will always overtake them. But if it is true, I think it can start from me and you. If all our houses, our children could understand Islam better than what the people can say, so that they will not also be declared as Afa tí ò dá kankan mọ̀, that is Afa that do not know the difference between the left and the right hand. So, and our own children can equally know that, then it will do us favor. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease our task so that our children will become embodiment and fountain of knowledge. Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah khairan. So, Mr. Jazakallah khairan to our teacher, our sheikh, for providing this insight for us. Well, time is far gone. I don't want to summarize what you have said. I think at the end of the day, you also try to summarize all that has stood about the types of abrogations and the implications of this abrogation. I don't know if there are questions or concerns that needed to be raised before I call on Imam to make the final comment. One brother Abdulrazak Musbazel from the lecture, one can conclude that the concept of Nasi implies that Quran, as the primary source of Islamic law, possesses the flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances and the need of the Muslim community. Jazakallah khairan. Said Quran abrogates previous revelation This may mean progressive revelation with the Quran sealing it at the peak of human sophistication. What booty is allowed to be shared and consumed as against burning in previous revelation. Two systems married now that societies need openness and integration. Every part of the art is musalla, requiring no sanctification and other rituals. Water is enough for purification, and divorce is allowed instead of bitter, instead of for better for worse. Jazakallah khairan. These are the comments on the chat board. May I humbly call on the Imam to give his closing remark, and we have the closing.
You just read my comment as the second after Brother Abdurazak's comment. And I was going to write the second comment. I stopped when I saw Abdurazak's comment. It is flexibility in methodology. While we will not allow Muslims to freely drink alcohol as they enter into Islam, we will keep quiet over certain aspects of the deen, especially the core Sharia values and callings. Values in terms of the implication of defying the Sharia of Allah. We are not going to, for example, start from the last point of the Nasu al-Mansur progressive revelation of the prohibition of alcohol. We are not going to start from the last ordinance on riba. And that is why we Muslims will still tolerate the so-called Islamic Bank, Islamic finance, and Islamization of the capitalist economic methods, systems, and strategies to tyrannize the people. So we are, in my view, participating, for example, in democracy. We are tolerating democratic nonsense and madness because the Sharia of Islam, the statehood, was not concluded until close to the end of the time of the Prophet. The Islamic State was eventually consummated by Umar bin Khattab, and it was expanded in many ways by subsequent Umara. Whereas the Quran, for example, refers to itself as book. It was not codified as a book until we have the Uthmanic edition. And it took Umar and Abu Bakr a lot of argument to compile it into a book form, the Mus'haf that we have today. So the implication on dawah is that we have to be silent on final statements of the progressive nature, matters that were abrogated, matters that were forgotten, that matters that were left there. We have to be very smart and strategic in our dawah in order not to overeat the polity for Muslims. For example, to say that any attempt, to participate in obvious kufru activities. I want to come back to democracy, for example, and working with a kufru government and tolerating paper money, another capitalist economic system, contrary to wealth creation and Sharia administration of human life, will be absurd and limiting, except if we take abrogation and the abrogated into due consideration while pushing for complete dawah that will lead to Islamic State. When we are thinking of dawah as an attempt to present Islam as deen and dawla, religion and state, we must consider the fact that for 13 years, it was Aqidah. And for a few years in Medina, it was the beginning of statehood. You don't preach jihad at the beginning of Islam simply because Allah probably virtually considers jihad as the sixth pillar. You don't preach it as the sixth pillar because Allah says that. We have to look at when Allah said that. So we are not going to present Islam as a complete picture and package because of abrogation and the abrogated. We are reading the Quran to teach the initial ordinance, the mid ordinance, and the final ordinance. And we have to explain why we should be careful not to go to the final ordinance, which is jihad, to push the frontier of the Islamic State forward. Where Islamic State has not existed, we have to remain in Mecca, teaching the Aqidah. We cannot jump to Medina simply because the Prophet took certain actions according to the ordinance in the Quran in Medina. So we remain in Mecca and present the picture of Medina. If Allah wills, we will get there. If Allah wills, we die there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding. I've struggled due to my circumstances to summarize it as much as I know. May Allah reward our Sheikh abundantly. May Allah reward everybody abundantly. If we need to open it next week to be open discussion, I think my insight could provide motivational impetus for us to expand the thinking and to introduce critical thinking about it so that we understand the dawah implication of nasikh wal mansukh. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. If you permit me to close it, I close it with dua. It's already 9:31.
Go ahead, sir.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Inshallah, we'll meet next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow morning.
We meet tomorrow morning for joint Askar.
Inshallah.
Dissociation and denial of the family gods. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
So.